In the month of December, I acquired a few books, not a ton. I haven't found a lot that's been new, that's really been intriguing to me. I mean, The War in Gaza is something that I'm definitely going to get, as well as Jason's new book. But I think I'm going to wait for the Fanta book sale. So I've been out and about, and I just figured I'd show them off here. I know I showed them off on Instagram, but I figured, hey, let me show a video for the handful of nerds like me that like this stuff. So in New York, I didn't have a strict comics day. It was more like we're gonna go in this area, and if I know of any bookstores, used bookstores especially, I'll pop on in and see if there's anything there. So I went to one store called Book Off, and this is what I found. And when I always buy, I always try to find a deal. Either I want like the eBay price or less if possible, but just something that's fair. So I found this Inside Mobius part 3. This was published in 2018 by Dark Horse. I've never read any of these books. I'm familiar with them. I've seen them. This is basically Mobius doing art in his journal, adventures in this land called Desert B, where he's like the main character and almost like a god of sorts. But what I do like is the production value is really good. I like that all the work here is in color. Like the only disappointment is that most of that work was done in black and white, pen, and it's fine. But there's something about his work that just really breathes and gets excitement when it's in color, especially the coloring palette that is used in his work. Just really enjoy these subtler tones, these blues. I mean, some of the stuff would be interesting in black and white only, but since there's a lot of desert, there's a lot of negative space, the color is what really adds. That's just my opinion. So with Mobius, especially this part of his career, you're just gonna have to dig the art. And Mobius is one of the few guys that I will do that for. There's Mary Windsor Smith, Jack Kirby, Bill Sienkiewicz, that I'll just check it out because of the art, if not buy it, because of the art. I just really dig their art that much. Usually I'm a stickler for story, and I want a lot of story, but with Mobius, the stories are really out there. And he did these stories after he stopped smoking weed, and they got even trippier. And we have a little Blueberry cameo, which is always good to me because I love Blueberry as a series. Just really interesting art. So I'm glad I got this. I have not really found these books in the wild, and I would rather prefer just to buy them if I see them, as opposed to getting them on eBay and not being sure of the quality, or the shape they're in. Really cool stuff. This is eye candy, 100%. Also in New York, I got a couple of Osamu Tezuka books. I got Ayako, and I got Record of the Glass Castle. Now, Ayako has been a book that I've been looking at for a couple of years. I really love Tezuka's work, and I kind of like this period where he was actually starting to do social commentary about Japan and his place in the modern world and the impacts of that on the Japanese people. I'm not as big a fan of the Astro Boy era and the Shonen era, but I kind of like that mid to late 70s up until the 80s, where he was starting to do a lot more adult themed manga. So looking forward to this. Just great Tezuka. This is brand new. I think this edition was printed in 2017, but it's brand new. Paid retail for it. Maybe could have gotten a better deal on eBay, but I like the fact that it was brand new. And I was there, and I never see this book in the wild. There's another thing that you just have to go. I went to an anime store in Flushing, and anime and manga, and they had this laying around. It's probably been there for like 7 or 8 years, wrapped in plastic. So looking forward to that. And this was published by Vertical Press, when Vertical actually had the rights to some of Tezuka's work. Now this is Record of the Glass Castle. This is published by Digital Manga Media, or Platinum Manga also, as they go by. these were books that were done on Kickstarter, and if the Kickstarter was successful, then they went ahead, fulfilled the Kickstarter, and then they started publishing them. I wasn't familiar with this title, but I'm familiar with the these books, this line of books, but I didn't know about this specific one. So I saw this was brand new, $12.95. Tezuka as well. More social commentary. Just kind of like this era a lot. So really looking forward to more Tezuka. Mail order from Abe Books. I picked up Voodoo Child by Martin Green and illustrated by Bill Sienkiewicz. Now, I didn't know this book existed, but last month I did a video of my books that I got from Phantom of the Attic, and one of them is the new Jimi Hendrix story, Kiss the Sky. And my friend Colin, who goes by Loading the Cannon, said, hey, if you like Hendrix and I know you like Sienkiewicz, he mentioned this book, and I didn't even know this book existed. And I guess they made 1 million of these books. I think they first published it in 95, and then they republished it in 2007. I think this is the 2007 edition. They must have made 1 million of these because these are inexpensive. They're like, it was like 12 and a half, not even 13 bucks shipped. And it includes a CD, an original CD, but really, I'm just gonna come here for this mid-90s Sienkiewicz art. I really like when Sienkiewicz was doing work in the 90s before, when he was trying to do independent work, and he was doing Straight Toasters and Big Numbers, and he was just trying to do all this other stuff that was independent before, I guess, later on realizing, hey, the money's in Marvel and DC, so I'm gonna just do work for Marvel and DC. But I really like all this independent stuff, and I just love this work. I think it's a time when he was still trying to push boundaries. And now, his work is still amazing, but like his work is like, what you get when you see his work. I think here he was still trying to push boundaries and do sequential comics as opposed to doing just covers and pinups. So really looking forward to that. And I'm so glad that I posted that video, just because like I said, I would have never known this book existed, and it really wasn't very expensive. So it was a double win for me. This is a book, let me get in closer. This is a book that I found at the library. They had a sale of books, and this was $1. I don't even think this has ever been read. This is a Neil Gaiman book, Coraline. The only reason I got this is because it's adapted and illustrated by P. Craig Russell. Now, P. Craig Russell, this isn't the P. Craig Russell of like 1980, 79, where he was doing The Ring of the Nibelung and doing those really like almost angelic looking people. But P. Craig Russell is still a very talented artist. Really, just his artwork is great to look at, even at this stage in his career. So the way I looked at it was, you know what, if it's bad, it only cost me $1. But, for P. Craig Russell work, I'll definitely check it out. From the library, I checked up a couple of manga volumes. This is something that always intrigued me just because of the cover, but kind of held off on buying it, but then I found out my library carries it. And this I never knew existed. I know this is considered a classic, but I never knew this existed. Never read any of Yoshimi's work. I know that I think he's done other manga, but I will say that this book was okay. I read the first 100 pages. I guess it was going somewhere, but it seemed to take a long time to get there. So I just kind of stopped. I learned after my recent experience reading, my favorite thing is Monsters 2, is that if the book just isn't appealing to you for whatever reasons, don't finish it to the end just to kind of like see if it somehow can like save itself. If it's not really appealing to you like a third or halfway through, it's just not worth finishing. There's so many other books for me or for you to read that's not worth it. So I read the first 100 pages, just really wasn't feeling it. And also these volumes are 28 bucks each. You're not getting a lot for 28 bucks. So I mean, you really have to dig this series. Like I said, I got this at the library, so like I didn't have to pay for it, but eh, I was kind of disappointed. And I kept thinking, oh man, I read My Favorite Things and Monsters, and I really didn't dig it. And I read this, so am I getting jaded? Then I read this, and I really enjoyed this, Blood on the Tracks. I think this was published between 2020 and 2023, all 16 volumes. The only thing is that my library only carries like volumes 1, 6, 8, and some other weird number. It doesn't carry like 1 through 16. And so I'm not sure if I'm going to read the rest of them, because I don't know if I liked it a lot. I just didn't think I liked it that much where I'd be invested in buying all 16 volumes. But yeah, that was it. It was kind of, this was disappointing. But like I said, if I really just don't really like it, I'm just not going to waste time reading it. I just think it's a waste. And lastly, for Christmas, I got this from my son, my oldest one. I got this. This is a reprint from 2014 of a 80s, trying to do a reboot of The Shadow. Now, The Shadow is some character that's been around from like 100 years. Will Eisner was famous for The Shadow. I really don't know what it is. I don't know if this is any good. I think they tried to reboot the series and it didn't go anywhere. But the reason my son got it for me and that I got it was because of Bill Sienkiewicz art. As I mentioned, Sienkiewicz is one of those guys that if I see his art, I will kind of like, I'm hoping for a good story, but if it isn't a great story, I can at least see their art. And I really dig this stuff. That's really it. So that's all I got. Not a big month for comics. Like I said, I'm trying to go through all these books that I have, and I have so many books that it's just buying more and more. A ton more just seems ridiculous. It seems like you're full, you're at the buffet and you're full, but you go back for another plate. It's like, why? But these are some things that I really wanted to try and read or pick up, or the deal was so good that it was worth it. But I really find myself at this time kind of like putting the pause on a lot of books. And I think maybe it's inflation, maybe justifying the expense of it. But again, it's sort of like, I already have a ton of comics. Like I could stop buying comics for a year and I could easily have comics a year later that I could probably still read, or I'd finish them. So why pile on a ton of different books? Anyway, I hope you found this interesting. Let me know in the comments if you have anything of interest to add or questions or anything. That's to me the fun part about posting these videos. Thanks.